Okay, it is May 5th. This is episode number 31 of the MBA show.
We got a great show for you today.
China's taken over the world.
India is hoping the world is going to take over it.
And we'll talk about why you should limit your number to 5, and we'll talk about what that means.
The summer split internship. Everybody's doing it. Remember to subscribe to us on iTunes.
And our headline today, India invites colonization.
Well, that's a nice, refreshing change. So India has passed the Foreign Universities Bill, allowing for the first time foreign universities to start granting degrees on Indian soil.
When asked for comment, the dean of Wharton University said, "Ka-ching!"
I think we're basically looking at a land rush here, don't you?
You know, Wharton's, they've got their outpost in San Francisco, and there is no chance that they are going to pass up the opportunity to open that satellite campus.
My money says Wharton is going to be the first school with boots on the ground here.
Oh, no. My ticket, right after I'm done here, I'm going to India, Tom.
Oh, what are we going to do without you on the show?
Don't worry, like most American entrepreneurs interested in India, I have no experience, I know nothing about the culture, and I know no one who works there ever. I should be out of business within a week.
Right, you know, because of the brand issue.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think it basically makes sense to open a school in India if you can charge premium American prices, but not if you're going to be an American going over there to open a school at India prices.
And on top of that, I think the Indian business schools, they're going to run all of the competitors out of business. But within a decade, top world talent is going to be going to Indian-based business schools.
No, they don't need MBAs. They need basic managers.
That's what an MBA does.
I think we can basically agree that American MBAs are places where you go to get elite jobs like banking jobs, consulting jobs, trading jobs.
So you're saying that an American MBA doesn't actually prepare you to do anything?
No, it does. It teaches you the greatest American trick in the world, using other people's money to make more money.
Dude, this is why your next boss is going to be Skyping you from Bangalore to tell you what to do.
Well, we'll see when that comes. We'll see when that happens.
But anyways, speaking of world domination, we'd like to welcome our guest today. Please welcome on the show MBA's Xing Meng.
Yeah. Xing, you have an unbelievable rap sheet here. Let me go over this for the studio audience here. So you were born in China.
Yep.
3.5 years old, you moved to the U.S. 6 years old, moved back to China.
Right.
14 years old, back to the U.S. 21 years old, back to China, Hong Kong to work at J.P. Morgan. 24 years old, back to the U.S. going to business school. You have a ping pong life, my friend.
Yeah, that's the story of my life, and probably keeping on the ping pong ball going. I'll probably be going back to China afterwards as well.
Oh, so is that the definitive thing? What are you doing for the summer? Are you going to China?
So for now, I think I signed up for 2 summer internships. The first leg will be in Las Vegas, actually, and I'll be working for Caesars Entertainment. Part of that will be helping them to actually develop an online platform in China. The second half will be actually in China, working for Tencent, which is the largest Chinese internet company.
So you're splitting the difference. You're not picking one.
You have 1 foot in the U.S., 1 foot in China.
It's hard to pick one.
But I mean, and you have a green card, right?
Yes.
And Chinese citizenship.
Yes.
So the world is completely open to you. You could, let's say after graduate, you could work at the greatest power in the world or one of the fastest growing economies in the world.
I hope
you're gonna have to pick. How do you think about this choice?
Right. So I think for Chinese student, for myself, I want to work in a technology firm, and in China, it's easy. If you're looking at a career in China, it's easier to get the position you want and probably the firm you want as well. Especially from an MBA degree, they still value that a lot. In US, it's very specific. They'll probably value your MBA degree just because that you have some finance background. You're probably going to be in a finance role if you have never had an engineering degree or operations background.
Interesting. So if you don't have that background and you want to go to China, then the MBA is enough to get you in the door at Chinese companies. Is that true for American citizens as well, going to China?
I don't know about that. I think for American citizens, the role
that sounds like a no, a very polite no.
I mean, the roles that they're considering for U.S. citizens now are, especially if you're not Chinese speaking, is very specific. It's either very high senior management roles, you're overseeing the management, they trust you in your capability of managing a functional group, or it's not about how you can be productive in terms of crunching down numbers or doing those particular stuff.
So you're saying if you want to get a tech job, if you go to China, you kind of have more selection on the position that you're in. What if you want to go into some of the other popular careers the MBAs do today, such as finance?
Yeah. So
U.S. or China?
I would say it will be easier to go to China for a Chinese student background because basically you're competing with only the Chinese peers that are studying in the U.S. Everybody is recruiting from the U.S. into the investment banking, the funds. In the U.S., you're competing with a much larger group. You're competing with all the U.S. classmates as well as people from other places that are trying to get into the U.S. So it'll be difficult as an entry point. In the long term, probably in China, you don't feel your road is going straight up. You can keep doing executions and become a successful managing director. In U.S., at some point, maybe between the executive director and managing director, I would presume there's a glass ceiling for
Really?
Asians.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that speaks of, in finance in the U.S. if you want to sell your soul. But what if you want to contribute something and be an entrepreneur? Like really contribute to the world rather than just sucking the blood out of other people's money.
Right. Why would
I'm
you
looking at
want
you,
to do
Tom.
Yeah, why would you want to do that?
Which one, finance or entrepreneurship?
I think finance is obvious.
Yeah. So entrepreneur, I think in China these days, the fund is just, there's money is flooded in China. There's so many funds from foreign VCs, domestic VCs, there's a lot of governmental fund. It's very easy to raise money. So if you have a good idea and you have some connections, even just a little bit, someone remotely, you'll get started pretty fast. In US, it's a very mature system. The VC industry has been shrinking for years. It's not that simple, but and from a technology perspective, probably it's easier to push it out in the long run. Again, there's a long run, short run difference.
Yeah.
In China, it's easier to get it started fast, but you probably consumed by somebody is very big or just not a very mature market.
And what about that other super popular career path, consulting?
Yes, consulting. Everybody in China, there's Chinese consulting firms that nobody actually wants. So if you're an MBA and you got your MBA degree in the U.S. and you went back to China, join a Chinese consulting firm, I think you failed. You didn't get much. You didn't get what your money's worth.
What about an American firm in China?
Yes, so that is the popular career, but there's only a handful of them, and people are actually want to squeeze going to those. So if you came from a non-consulting career, a lot of people actually is their first career choice to go to China and join the Bains, McKinseys, and BCGs. Mm-hmm.
So to summarize, it sounds like for finance, you're saying if you want a finance career, go to China. If you want to do 2 years in finance, either is fine. For consulting, you want a US-based firm, but it's okay to be in China. If you're corporate, it sounds like personal preference because it's just different.
Yep.
And if you want to do entrepreneurship, easier to get started in China, but long-term success is a little bit tougher.
And let's say you're a U.S. citizen who wants to go to China at all costs. It's where the money is. It's where the growth is. What's your entry point?
I think you will. I think if you come from a managing background and you went to your MBA, so you have managed some group or division within a big, say, GE before. I think you are credible in terms of transferring that skill into China and manage one division or helping them to develop a new division in China. Probably the best entry point is for an international firm, not for a domestic firm, because they value that part of your knowledge.
And so it sounds like you had some experience with Americans going to work in China for Chinese companies.
Yes.
What are some of the surprising cultural things that you find if you're
an American going over there?
American, yes. From my job previously, I guess, they're JP Morgan, the top senior level, probably 4 out of 10 MDs are American, or they're working in the U.S., built some career, and came to here. What I found in them is that what I found from what they found is they're surprised as to how much respect they gathered when they're in a business situation. Mm-hmm. Actually, more probably than their title carries, or more than their knowledge entails.
What did you see? Like, how would that play out?
For example, if you go into a meeting and the CEOs and we're say a pricing discussion, which is the probably most important discussion for a company going IPO. It's the last day before going IPO. The CEO will punch down the investment bankers saying, we want this price and we want this to be done. We can't get lower than $10 a share. When the foreigners come in and speak, everybody will quiet down. All the argument will stop, and everybody will listen, and listen actually with full attention. So they actually are hearing what he's saying. But also what I find surprising, what the foreigners are finding surprised is that even though they're receiving that respect, how much of that really carried into effect. So after this person speaks and he left the room, everybody will resume to what it is before. And so you felt like
you do this, and they're like, oh, that's very, very interesting. Okay, back to what we were talking about.
Sure.
What about socially for like Americans in China? Like any social mores that you've seen or things that surprised people socially when they were there?
I think there's one interesting point. So over this spring break, we went to the China Lab, which is a collaboration program between Sloan and one of the university in China. And we, as a team, we worked together. So 2 from Sloan, 2 from this Chinese university, all MBAs working for a startup. So you found that the senior manager of this startup actually cared about your personal life, and not just on a superficial level, but really down to the core. So one of the questions they asked us on the second day that we met her is that, are you single? And are you looking? And are you actively looking? So, and there's a girl that worked with us from the bank, and she's coming around every 2 weeks.
So this is more than just polite conversation.
Definitely. I mean, you can take it either way. So right. And so we thought it was a just icebreaker sort of thing. 2 weeks later, she actually introduced this girl to one of the colleagues, and so if you have half an hour, and what is even more awkward is she actually put this guy in the room and she left. So they were stuck in the room for half an hour and don't know what to do. And,
so the perks of your job include access to the executive washroom, the company car, and my son?
Yes.
Wow.
All right. Well, one of the things we do on the show is we have a jargon. Let's move on to our jargon
segment. So you
segment.
sent over this jargon, Mengxing, which... Are you really just giving your name as our jargon this week? Like, that's the one thing people should know about China is your name?
I'm so lame. This is what I do. Yeah, so in China, actually, I think in a lot of Asian cultures, I can't confirm which one, I don't know that much, but in China at least, the last name, people pronounce the last name first and the first name last. So it's in the reverse of Western cultures. So if you're called to call somebody's full name, you actually go with, so my first name is Xing, you actually go with Mengxing. This is the way that you call. So if you receive the email that you don't know, you're trying to figure out which one is the last name, keep this in mind. I think this is a good trick.
So I get an email from you. It would say, a formal email from you would say Mengxing, but then if I write back with just your first name, use the second, whatever name is listed second is the name you would be addressed with.
I have a couple of emails that I need to. I have actually gotten this wrong.
Oh, really?
That would explain why it's okay. Yeah, that explains a lot.
All right, let's do our business school tip of the week. So what is your one tip that you'd like to give to MBAs?
Yeah, so I think max 5. The way I look at this is everybody, when they're entering the MBA school, everybody is looking at so many opportunities, so many options, and you want to engage in those. Does it include clubs, in-school internships, competitions, different classes, everything else. So, what you want to do is actually limit down your amount of activity that you want to get and prioritize. So the most amount you want is 5.
So break it down for us. Is there a way to break those 5 down to think about it?
I think the ideal way is maybe 2 clubs, 2 competitions, and 1 activity that could be an internship. One other plus 1, whatever it is. I failed doing that by, I wake
What
up
happens when you fail?
Yeah, I wake up every morning, get a lot of angry emails from different people, and it wasn't pleasant. Yeah.
A good rule, a good way to limit yourself. Xingmeng, thank you so much for joining us today. What's on your radar for this weekend?
I haven't thought about it yet, actually. Oh, actually, I'm going skydiving on this Sunday.
You haven't thought about it. You're merely being thrown out of a plane.
Miro, what's on your radar?
My radar this weekend, I am moving, so I'm prepping for my move.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I'm going to spend pretty much the whole weekend on the phone with my mom because it's Mother's Day. So for
that's
those of you out there
right.
watching the show, if you haven't, taken care of that yet, chop chop.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Remember to subscribe to us, our newsletter at thembashow.com. We'll be producing some special Chinese language content this week. For the MBA Show, I'm Miro Kaz.
I'm the real Tom Rose.
Xingmeng.
And you've been watching The MBA Show.